Here we are. Hello, and
evening.
welcome to Inside Sulphurbath, episode 22.
How you doing, Mike?
How's everybody tonight? I'm doing good. We're sitting here tonight with Martin and Evan. How are you guys doing?
Excellent.
Very well.
Very good to be here.
Very cool.
I love the sulphur bath. I love the way it feels around my mid and bottom sections.
There's a lot of sulfur and a lot of H2O, a lot of oxygen and hydrogen in the room right now. And that's feeling pretty good. So, yeah, welcome you guys. Episode 22, and thanks for joining us. You guys are going to perform tonight. We're also going to ask you about your recent recordings and everything.
Very cool. We do have a new record out. It's called The Opponents by Evan Russell Saffer, or ERS. And it's very exciting. It's our electro punk. Martin does all DJ work. I do singing, and there's other instrumentation in there as well.
Cool.
You can check it out at ersband.com at any point in this transmission if you want to go there and listen. That'd be cool. Actually, wait till after, because you can't listen to me and Mike and the hosts and everybody if
Well, yeah, they could totally start a new tab, though. Get both of them going.
Got a lot of multitasking.
I like that when you get like 6 YouTube videos going at the same time.
I'd like to start a new tab right now. I just don't want to pay my tab. That was bad.
Yeah, Greg told you about the tab, right? So, yeah, very cool. So, how long have you guys been playing together and recording together?
Together only since January this year, so 10 months, is that 11 months?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's been doing this for a lot longer, but I only met up with him in January, I think it was. So, yeah, not long.
Cool. And where are you guys from? How did you meet when you originally met?
I actually originally saw Evan performing in one of his previous bands a long time ago, maybe, I don't want to say how many years ago, a long time ago. So I was aware of him before he even knew who I was, and I kind of followed his career from the UK. I actually bought a couple of his albums and stuff, and then came over here. I moved over here in 2009, and all of a sudden saw a tweet by him saying he's looking for some DJ to sort of help with his new direction, so I responded that way. And so I kind of found him really
Cool.
That way.
Martin actually traveled here by himself. I think it was 2004. And he went to CBGB, which is like the major, massive underground rock and roll shithole of New York City. And I happened to be performing there with my old band Fixer. And I just can't even believe it that he saw me there. He thought it was crazy, awesome. We never met. He didn't say hello, nothing.
Only because I was shy and he was, well, partying so hard I didn't want to interrupt. So.
Come on, Martin, don't be shy. I was covered in women and other like people backstage. There was a line to see me. You know, he's being shy. So, well, we had a good time, and basically, I did switch directions. That was completely rock. I also put out a solo album that was I called Schizophrenic Rock. It's Neon Gas. It's an album that's you can still get online at my website or Amazon, anywhere, iTunes. And then I decided to switch directions. I definitely wanted to go more electronic, and I spent about 8 months, making this new record. It just wasn't right. I actually worked with another producer who did some electronics for us, and then Martin, I put out an ad. I was just a little, still really wasn't where I want to be. And not only did Martin respond, but he responded with this long email, and I hope I still have it because I want to post it eventually. But literally explains what he just said. Like, listen, I've been following you since 2004. I absolutely dig the music. I think you have a great voice. I would love to work with you. And I'm reading this email like, I just put this in the trash, of course. No. I was like, yes, perfect. I want this guy, definitely. And then, what capped it all off is that I was struggling with a few songs on the Opponent record, and I sent him the songs, and his turnaround time was like a day. Like 1 or 2 days, he sent back some remixes or some beats or some arrangement. And not only was it brilliant, but the time, the proficiency, how prolific he was. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. And we have an incredible working relationship. We're already working on the next record. The Opponent. By the way, when he did remix The Opponent and we came in and worked together, we got a record deal. We got signed almost immediately. We're signed to a Swedish dance label called Uberstrom, which is out of Gothenburg, Sweden. They're one of the biggest dance labels in Sweden, and they had a new spin-off imprint. The mother company is called Substream, but the imprint is called Uberstrom, which in German means overcurrent. And it's that the imprint basically represents like the combination of what we're doing, which is sort of like rock and metal with dubstep and house. We call it massive dub dance electro. What do we call it? Massive dub electro dance metal.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Cool.
Anyway, that's the back end story, and now here we are.
Yeah, that's great. Start collaborating with somebody that's already kind of tuned into what you're doing, and then you guys discover it was meant to be, and something hit right away. That's great.
I'm extremely happy. We have a great partnership.
Yeah, it's working well. I mean, for me too. I was actually before I met Evan, I was working on my own stuff for about a year, and it was going okay. But I kind of needed someone like him to sort of come in, and I'm kind of introverted and not very, I don't know, not really a showman, which is exactly what he is. So we kind of work well together because I prefer to do the technical stuff. There's sort of music in the background. He prefers to be up front and doing his showman thing. So the two of us kind of click really well in that respect.
I spend most of my time trying not to be an asshole. Martin's very flattering.
Right. It's a good compliment to that, then. That's what you're saying.
He's a good guy.
Cool.
We're
Yeah, very
rocking
good.
it. We're actually most of the time that we're not doing regional dates. We've done a good amount of touring. We've hit Providence. Shout out to Providence. Anyone who's watching. Boston. Shout out to Boston. We love you. Philly. The dirtiest of all cities.
That was fairly recently, too, right?
Well, we've hit all those cities, Brooklyn and New York. I mean, at least 3 times in the past, since the release of the album, which was earlier
September,
yeah. So that's quite it's quite a bit. I mean, touring is extremely fun and awesome, so we want to do more of it, but it's also really expensive, and we try to be really efficient and do kind of like a regional thing. But when we're not touring and doing these awesome, cool internet TV things on Sulphurbath, which I love, we're writing. We're actually producing some incredible stuff. We're the better part through another record right now.
Yeah, we've got about 10 tracks on the go right now. And Evan keeps calling me up. I've got a new one. He's at home playing on the piano, record something on his iPhone, send it over. I've got a brand new song today. So, yeah, he keeps me on my toes, definitely. I think we've got about 10 or so.
Well, he spoiled me with that turnaround time. So anytime it's not in like 2 days, I'm like, where are you? Where are you?
That's good, though, being that prolific. You guys are working on a lot of stuff. So
We're working on a lot of stuff.
When is the next album? Do you predict it'll be done and available?
Ooh, good question. Well, we still haven't really decided the format of the next record. I think that's fair to say. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We still haven't really decided how many tracks we're going to include, which tracks, and we haven't really formalized the direction of every song yet. So it's early. I think it's too early to say. Right?
There's 2 ways to answer. I mean, I think Martin's right. It's too early to say because I think he's thinking like the level that we are at and also aim to be at is a very high level. And we don't want to just like release demos. A lot of the stuff is very listenable right now. We could rock it. It would sound awesome. We actually debated playing it because we're like that. We're like little children, like always wanting to, open the presents before Christmas. But at the end of the day, it is good to have goals, especially when you're, an artist, because if, you're working for yourself, and if you don't set a little like a deadline or you want to get it done and you're hanging and you're touring, you're partying, whatever, you don't get it done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we did talk about at least finishing all the tracking and demoing and structurally being able to listen and analyze the new record by the end of the year. So we should have 10 songs like fully listenable by January, hopefully. And then I had some ideas. I want to bring in some female singers. We want to bring in other musicians, other players. We want to produce, and that's what we do. We actually did start producing other artists. If you're interested in being produced, send me a demo on my Facebook or through the website, ersband.com.
Yeah, very cool. I hadn't talked to you about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a new thing because Martin and I actually, we love touring. We love performing. We're going to play a song in a little while. We'll play 2 songs tonight. But we actually love working together and producing, and he's phenomenal, and I've got a lot of songwriting experience, and we've got a lot of access to incredible musicians, including some are here tonight. We've got Dean and Fumio. They're going to be on the show a little later. And, we like doing it. So we've actually hung that flag out there, and if you've got a demo or a song and you want to, go... I have to be honest, though. We're not producing just everything under the sun. What we're doing now is very electronic-based, with like a rock and pop sensibility. So if you're, in that arena,
that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, we psyched to hear the song. It's all about the songs.
Yeah.
I feel like if we put our production against a great song, it doesn't matter what it is. It's gonna be awesome. It's all about the songs. You got to concentrate on the songwriting.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Have you done any sessions yet?
We actually did.
We cut some demos, didn't we, for a couple of people?
We did. A few people sent us their stuff. One girl was actually came into Cave. I have to plug Cave. We're above Cave. I own Cave.
Yeah, we're
Espresso.
directly above it right now, and that's how we met.
We met through
Right.
Cave Espresso Bar, which is, in my opinion, the
You make
coolest
coffee, I drink
coffee espresso bar in Bushwick, in Brooklyn. And if any of the other coffee shop owners listening to this, listen, I love you. But we're gonna kick your ass. Just come on by, have a coffee. Anyway, Mike comes down there. He has lattes all the time. Fumio and Dean, they crush it down there. They've been with us, and they're incredible talents. And yeah, it's a great place to bring people together. And so there's tons of artists in this whole neighborhood.
Cave is an event space as well.
It's an
right?
event space,
So
yep.
you do have events down there in the yard.
We've had
and
weddings.
inside.
We have jamborees. We have all sorts of stuff.
Mhm.
And then, I talk to a lot of the customers. We all do. We all talk to everybody. That's how we meet. It's a very cool social place. And one of the customers, actually, she's a blues artist. So she sent us this like Nora Jones type of stuff and said, look, I'm just looking for musicians I want to produce. And then, Martin remixed it with like all these beats. And I thought it was
cool.
brilliant. He made her voice. He remixed it and like glitched it out. And it just totally blew my mind. And we sent it to her and she didn't say no. But I haven't heard from her for a while, so I don't think she liked it, but I loved it. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you want to work on stuff and do stuff that you love, and that's what we love. So, hopefully you love it, and then everybody's happy.
Yeah, that's cool. And like attracts like, and you guys end up like attracting the kind of stuff you want, and before you know it, you got 100 recordings down. Yeah. We look forward to hearing some of that stuff, and feed us some guests, man. If you guys get somebody that wants some exposure, send them out on the show. Speaking of which, you guys are about to expose us to your sound.
I think that's about time. I would love to play a song.
And I think that's great. So let's just move the speakers. We're going to set up a little bit. And thank you guys for joining us. Let's put it up right now.
Let's do this.
You got any intro for it, Evan, before you go?
Well, I think we're gonna play two songs on the show tonight. Both of them are off of the album The Opponent, which is available everywhere through Uberstrom Records. The easiest place to find it is ersband.com. And the first song we're going to play tonight is called Beautiful Stranger, which is really self-explanatory. It's about the rush of meeting somebody new and the danger and the excitement of it. And I love it. And let's do this. a beautiful stranger, a beautiful stranger.
Beautiful stranger.
Oh God, was
That
she
was great.
beautiful, huh?
That was great, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go into like how that song was came about.
I think it just came about from that impulse and that drive and that juice that you get when you meet somebody new and the whole danger of it. And I really still have like, a lust for life in that way. Like when I meet new people and work with new people and, they come into my life and like, I just think that it's like a way to just really charge and channel and just rock it. And as far as the energy, which you were mentioning earlier, I've tried to calm down. They're all written on guitar or piano, and some of them are even ballads. And then that particular one, I was working with a guitar player at the time, Eric Bear, who's fantastic, phenomenal guitar player, is featured on The Opponent. And I was basically just responding to some of the riffs and stuff that he had come with for that particular one. Mm-hmm. The format is still very similar, though, the way we're writing songs. And the same thing is happening now, like where I'm writing something that it might actually be a completely different direction. Then I send it over to Martin, and then he sends me back this monster, or he's, he struggles with ballads or whatever. I don't know, but...
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know where that came from. I took the vocals that he recorded and the guitar that Eric played, and it was recorded so well. I just had something great to play with. And I'm normally into sort of making quite upbeat music. Well, not always, but this is clearly an upbeat song. I mean, you can hear just by the vocals. So I try to sort of bring my stuff to the table. And yeah, I mean, he brought the energy. I just kind of try to match it.
I mean, look, I think music and art, one of the most incredible, integral things about it is just being honest. And anybody who knows me on any level, I'm very manic energy. I'm probably bipolar. I'm just always uppity. So a lot of it is like that. A lot of the opponents like that. There's a ballad on there called I Couldn't Love You Any More Than I Do Now, which is really sexy, and I love it. You should listen to it. It's streaming. Go to ersband.com. But yeah, most of our vibe is kind of dancey, party, and uppity.
Yeah, very cool. And so, do you guys have anything else on the list as far as after this album? I mean, you sound like you're pretty organized. Is there something else on the table that you're planning?
Well, I wish we were playing out more, because what you just saw, like, I love to do in a club environment, dirty, sweaty, just fun, have people dancing. We do have a show. We're doing a double header show because I like to push myself to the edge. We're doing 2 shows in one night in New York City. It's 2 nights before Thanksgiving. What's the date on that? November 26th?
26th.
November 26th. We're in New York City. It's a Tuesday night, right?
Yeah,
Thanksgiving is
sure.
Thursday. And we're playing at 8 o'clock for like a live-tronic, electronic blowout show at the Delancey. And then at 10:30, I'm going to be headlining Tim Number 37's Party Like a Rock Star party at Tammany Hall, which is also going to be like a phenomenal party. He's a great promoter. There's a lot of good bands on that show. So, I mean, we've got those. I'm doing this incredible Sulphurbath live TV-tronic extravaganza with you fine people. Mm-hmm. And then we're just doing some radio shows and internet stuff. I'll be on 90.3 WMSC at the end of the... All this stuff, that's college radio in December with Martin and I. We go on and do a similar thing where but it's audio, it's not video. This is why this is so cool.
Is that a local station?
It's a Jersey station out of Montclair, New Jersey, Montclair State University. So if you want the info on that, how to tune in or see any of those performances, virtual or actually live, it's ersband.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And you guys are going to play some more for us tonight, too, right? We're going to keep going.
Yeah, this show is very dynamic. We get to talk and play, and you got some really cool artists here tonight coming up later, and we're gonna do like a jam later. Is that what I was hearing?
Yeah, every show winds up with an experimental jam. There's no strictures here. We can do whatever the heck we please.
Yeah. Ron Burgundy, I haven't heard much from you. Tell me tell me about Sulphurbath and what you guys do.
About the Sulphurbath? Well, we try to... it all stemmed from sitting around, meeting people constantly in Bushwick and feeling like we needed to do something with it. So we said, why don't we bring them in here and have them talk about what they're doing and have them perform and show off what they're doing so that we're not just giving it to ourselves all the time so we can put it out to the world so other people can.
Yeah, I got sick of giving it to myself all the time. So yeah.
I mean, that's something that like I think everybody knows. The universal law of receiving is to give first, but it's something that we all always practice. So thank you, because I love being a part of it, and you guys teaching
and
me.
each show pays off so much. You know, instant karma gets us every show.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like it comes together, and you know, that's really one of the greatest things is getting to that jam at the end of the show where have a dynamic group of people sitting in the room and they're all performing together, and you know, so.
I bet it is about
That's
getting
coming
to
up.
the end of the jam. You guys are all tanked, and you're like, all right, man, we just gotta get to the end of this.
It's gonna sound kind of drony and stuff.
Anything we can do, we get to the end, we make it.
Cool. So yeah, we're gonna have another transition. I appreciate you guys playing tonight. And do you want to set up the next piece that you're gonna do?
Well, the next piece we're going to do is actually something I want to talk about is a song off The Opponent again. It's called One Friend, and we're shooting a video for it right now.
That's right. I saw stills from that. Looks amazing.
I have stills posted on the website, ersband.com. All right, I got to stop plugging it. ersband.com.
Wait, do you have a website?
Yeah.
You're good, Ron. You are good. So basically, I met this incredible director of video, and this is your world. I mean, this is what you do, Mike, and this whole Sulphurbath is. He posted some videos that I thought were absolutely phenomenal, and they were so simple. You know, no special effects. Well, some like forward and backward motion and slow mo and stuff, but he was actually working with other electronic artists. Not exactly what we were doing, but just so captivating. Just like when you boot up a video on YouTube or Vimeo or whatever else you use, you're really always like, am I going to get to the end of this? I mean, that's really the whole thing. If you get to the end of it, then it doesn't matter what the song was, what the video guy did, the actors. The answer is yes. Right? I mean, if you get to the end, you get yes.
Yeah.
So I did. And then I checked out his other videos, second and third, and I was like, this guy's talent. And the price was right. He's working with us. We're still... Yeah, I mean, we're only millionaires. We want to be billionaires, but we're trying to, we only got so many millions to throw around.
That first billion's the hardest.
Yeah,
man.
first billions, a real pain in the sphincter.
It's a whole ton of millions. We don't usually understand the magnitude above a million that a billion is. It's just
That's
it's
1,000 millions,
There's
right?
1,000 of them, but
It's
it's a lot.
bit out of my reach to perceive of, but one can
Yeah.
dream. But
Anyway,
yeah, so
he proposed to shoot it, and he came at me. He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna put my actors in it. You see my style. I'm gonna do it my way. You're not gonna be in it. Shooting in Las Vegas. Blah, blah, blah." Like he just gave me this whole thing, and it was just like take it or leave it. And me, who's like totally type A and whatever, I'm just like, I love that. Yes. So we just put a foot on the gas, and there were some problems. Our first actress bailed on us the day before shooting because she's an actress and she got another high-paying gig and thought somebody else was cooler than me. Us. Mistake. So we got somebody else who I thought was even sexier. And the star of our video, Lena Karakostas, she's... I'm not sure if she's Russian or what she is. She's gorgeous. I love her. Anyway, she's starring in the video. It's directed by Nick Vandevender, and it's shot entirely in Las Vegas. There are stills on the website, and it's for the song One Friend, which is off The Opponent, and we're going to rock that song right now.
awesome.
All right.
One friend coming up right now.
Let's rock it.
Cool. Let's do it.
Misbehaved. In our time, it was
When you're schizophrenic, you're never alone. The gentleman, the kid in your basket, case psycho. Who means too well, it's hard to choose. Depends what time and the shape of the moon. Come on, yeah! And I don't fit, but fit just right, yeah! And not tomorrow, but best you had, hanging on until the end. One night, one life, one regret, one time, one friend. The best you had, hanging on until the end. Yeah. You're frustrated, hated life until something really bad happens tonight, and then you're sick with worrying instead of just pissed, and alcohol abuse doesn't clean up the mess. Come on, yeah, and I don't fit, but fit just right, yeah, and not tomorrow, but tonight, yeah, and you can't hit, but hit the light, yeah, and I will make this worth your while. One night, one life, one regret, one time, one friend. Best you had, hanging on until the end. One night, one life, one regret, one time, one friend. The best you had, hanging on until the end. And alcohol needs some more. Hit the wall, fuck it all. Yeah! And I don't fit, but fit just right. Yeah! And not tomorrow, but tonight. Yeah! And you can't hit, but hit the lights. Yeah! And I will make this worth your while. One night, one life, one regret, one time, one friend. The best you had, hanging on until the end. One night, one life, one regret, one time, one friend. The best you had, hanging on until the end. Yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah. Yeah. Ah, yeah. Like every show would be like this. Like play a song, we talk about it. It's just like therapy.
It's kind of like
Right.
what is that VH1 show? It's not like that, but they do that. What is it? Storytellers, where they'll talk about the song and then they'll play the song.
Play a clip and then talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us a bit about your gear and stuff? Like Martin, how you recording and such? Like what do you use to
My
create
gear
those
is
sounds?
just that single laptop, which I've had for quite a long time. It's incredible what you can do. It's really mind-blowing. I mean, that's our entire studio right there.
Mhm.
And I take it in my backpack to gigs. It's
That's great.
insane. I just plug it in and we're ready to go.
That's great.
And here we are in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Suddenly
Right
waking up
here,
one day, it's
so-
all in one unit, in the whole studio.
Yeah.
And what
Um,
software do you use? Do you use performance software different from what you
Is
record
that a
with?
secret?
No, I use the same thing. I use Ableton, which is all the
right.
rage right now.
Yeah.
And,
It is all the rage right now.
It's just very intuitive.
Mhm.
So that's why I use it. It's just very easy, great workflow. They really thought about it, those Germans. They really paid attention to the detail.
They've been known to do that.
So yeah, that's really it. I just use Ableton. We record him through a mic.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I use a microphone. All right.
Pretty good microphone, beta. So yeah, great.
Stand
I mean, on that
here.
record, we had some guitar as well. Eric Bear played some amazing guitar for that. So
And did
I'm
you
not
guys-
sure how that was recorded. I just,
Actually, that was recorded. All right, live and recording are two totally different things. Live, right now, where Martin on his laptop, and he also has like a trigger mixer type thing that he uses. What is that?
it's called an APC-40. I didn't actually bring it tonight.
But he does like little moves and glitches and stuff with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's already out of date. I bought that thing 2 years ago, so I need to upgrade. But
We bought it 20 minutes ago. It sucks.
It's already over.
Right.
And I use a mic, and that's it. I used to trigger my own effects on foot pedal and stuff like that, but the way we've worked it out, I mean, I have like a built-in effects master here, so I'm like, okay, I'll stop doing that and pay attention to the show, and
Yeah.
we'll discuss whatever I want, and we'll trigger it and do it together. In the studio, there's then and now. Again, it constantly evolves. The Opponent was done in bedrooms with virtual amps, real amps, guitar players. singers, all sorts of stuff. I did a vocal studio with incredible engineer and vocal producer Tommy Sika, who's now out in LA doing movies and soundtracks for Nickelodeon and television. He's a talent, and I benefited from him when he was here. And I mean that the opponent, we just moved from studio to studio, so there's a lot of people worked on it, and it was very different. But right now, Martin and I are recording the next record. And it's still through Ableton and through his computer and still with me on a mic, but we've upgraded. We have an incredible new vocal mic. Didn't you get something new?
I did. I bought a new amazing vocal mic. AKG something, C414XL2S.
Like a large diaphragm condenser mic or something.
It's
like
like C3PO. It's like a full person.
Mhm.
6 million
It's gold.
languages.
It's actually got a gold grill,
Mhm.
which looks very cool. But, it sounds very good too. So it matches his voice pretty well. So.
Great.
Cool.
We've gotten great results because we actually recorded the way recording works, and it always has for me, and on every record I've released. There's so many versions of it. There's the version in my phone. There's the version on the couch. There's a version where you actually sing and record it, which I usually do through like a little mic like that, like the 58 beta or whatever. And then there's like the real version that you finally record and release in here. So we actually redid a lot of the songs on the newer mic because we just got it, the AKG, whatever it is. And it's awesome. So thank God that money was worth it. But, I think today recording, you can do a lot with a lot less, but the lot less that you have still has to be very, very good quality. So you do have to, the microphone, I think, absolutely, and this is experience talking. I mean, I'm not selling, no one's paying me to say this. Right? The vocals are clearer, hotter, warmer, sexier, whatever it is. It's unbelievable.
And able to make stuff so easy to do, but you kind of have to know what you're doing. And
Sure.
I'm still learning a huge amount. I mean, even since The Opponent was recorded 6 months ago, I've learned a huge amount about EQing and stuff just from watching YouTube. So even looking back what I did back then, I'm thinking, wow, I could have done that better.
Well,
now.
I was going to
So
ask you, are you mastering your own stuff then, or
no,
you
the
just
label
mix
actually
it
did
and-
that for
Mhm.
us. So I'm
Great.
kind of arranging and mixing
Mhm.
just on that laptop,
Mhm.
and then Uberstrom mastered for us. In
That's
this particular
nice.
instance,
Excellent,
that was
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, but
cool.
it's definitely a learning curve. And looking back at The Opponent, although it still sounds really good, I love it. I'm very proud of it. But yeah, I'm thinking, wow, I could have done stuff differently. I'm continuously learning. So Ableton makes stuff very easy to do, but you have to know what to do,
Mhm.
which I'm still learning. Well, I don't know why I'm even saying that, but.
Well, as an artist, I always felt bad about saying that. Like, oh, I listened to the last record and the stuff we're doing now is so great, da da da. But like, that's the whole nature of being an artist. I mean, Christ, if you aren't like excited and bettering yourself every project, well, then just please stop wasting everyone else's time. What I mean? Like, if you can't top yourself, then the listener or anyone else who hopefully will enjoy what you're doing is. So I'm okay with that statement. It's okay
but-
that you say that what we did is
I think
great,
it's a great
and
thing for
we're
an
forward
artist.
now, and we got better gear, and we're hopefully writing incredible songs still, and and it is a new direction.
And I'm just talking about really subtle things, just like minor EQ adjustments that, very tiny things like that. So The Opponent's still a great record. I'm very proud of it. So.
Yeah, refining as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing more recordings in the future, and of course the 10 plus that we're about to hear with the new release, right?
Yeah.
10 plus
However
now.
many.
We'll
Yeah.
see where it goes.
Well, that's the
to.
other thing too. I mean,
Don't put too much
the
pressure on
Neon
them.
Gas, which is the rock record I released under Evan Russell Saffer, it was 8 songs. The Opponent took another 1.5, 2 years, and there were people who actually complained, like, really 5 songs. And technically, The Opponent is 4 songs, and one of them, the track called Scarecrow, which beats were done by Case Reese, another very talented electronic producer. It's 4 legitimate songs, and then Scarecrow, which is a spoken word over beats and soundscapes. Totally cool. Very, very cool. Love it.
Yeah, I like that track. I heard that recently.
So there were people who complained. So we're trying to be a little more ambitious, but part of that ambition is finally because I think of Martin, and I give him full credit because I've always been very prolific. I've got a lot of songs. I keep sending him stuff, but he's turning them around. And the thing is, these things take time. You don't want to release the demo, the first version. You got to go back over it. You got to play it live a little bit. You got to test it. You have to have the ability to be like, we loved it, but now I think it sucks after a little while. This part, the lyrics don't make any sense here. And so I would like to release like a 10 or 15 songs and maybe throw in a couple remixes from the opponent and the young guests so those records don't die because they have incredible songs on them too, bring them back to life. So I do think the next release, which hopefully will be out, I definitely will be out in 2014 at some point, we'll have, forward of 10 tracks, 10 songs.
Cool.
At least.
Great.
We're just hoping.
Yeah. We'll look forward to that.
Well, I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. Thank you.
Just because it's broadcast.
This is being recorded.
It's not necessarily cemented. It's just the internet.
It's legally binding.
Cool.
Just
Well,
this little thing called the internet.
thank you guys so much for joining us, man. This has been really cool. Thanks for the
Mike, I
performance.
had
Sounded
such a
great.
good time. Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
us
Evan.
and
Yes,
also for
awesome.
buying a latte every day at Cave. And
Martin, thank you.
everyone who worked on the show tonight, too.
Yeah,
Thank
we've
you
got
very
one more
much.
segment. We're going to bring Dean out here in a minute. But yeah, really good performance. We appreciate that. We'll have an archive up soon, and we'll let everybody know about that. So
Thank you, everybody, for
cool.
listening.
And
ERSband.com.
one more time, what's the webpage?
Yeah, ERSband.com.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks, Evan. Thank you, Martin. All right, cool. So yeah, we're gonna bring Dean out here in a second.
I meant 3 for me.
3 beers.
Yeah, cool. Right. Yeah, 3 for him. Hello, hello.
All right.
Nice, very cool, man.
So thanks for coming.
It'll stay on unless he kills it from there. Sorry. Yeah, that was our.
Thanks for
little
coming
text
again,
section.
Dean.
Yeah,
You've been
Dean,
here a
thanks
lot
for
of
being on the
times
show,
and no one
man.
has known.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was actually gonna skip this episode when
Were
I
ya?
heard I was gonna be on it. And I was like, I don't know about that.
I'm not going.
Like
to
he
that.
was so reliable for every show we did. His segment, he was a no-show. What the fuck
And I
happened?
went to
Yeah.
work right downstairs, did a full 8-hour shift, and then just like at 8 o'clock, I was like, I might go to Sulphurbath, or I could like go home, and I just go home.
Well, you made the right decision.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. I feel like I
Right
do
on.
every Saturday
Yeah,
when
cool.
I check out the
Yeah,
show.
you've
the
added a
same
lot to the
decision.
show, man. We're putting together slowly. We're putting together kind of all of the music segments into one thing that people can watch and see all the different bands, and also
Yeah.
the end breakdown we do, the jam we're about to do in a bit. And I think there's a lot of really quality material in there that you've been joining us for. So, man, thanks. It's cool to have you as a guest on the show
I appreciate it.
instead of
It's
just
like,
featuring Dean Brown, right?
I've been telling a few of my friends, I'm like, I'm featured somewhere on the internet. You may not know where it is just
You may
yet.
not have
You may
heard of
not
the
be
internet
able to
before.
find the internet or search, but I'm featured
Yeah,
somewhere
just
on
show
the
him the
internet.
picture that
I'm
says
like,
featuring Dean Brown. And
Mom, I'm going to finish school one day, but right now I'm featured somewhere on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm
Nice.
just saying.
Nice.
you know?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dean Brown. Check me out on the internet.
Yeah.
The
On
internet is huge, too.
And the internet's huge.
To
So
be featured on it, and it's so
be
big a thing.
featured.
Yeah.
it's amazing, especially when you have like Fumio on bass, Greg playing a little bit of trumpet. You got the sampler, the beat machine. Dan will come in. He'll hit the percussion. Nick. Just all the vibe.
It's
is
been
so
great, man. Yeah.
so genuine. It's something that you can't fake that funk.
Mhm.
And I like being a part of that and just having my friends wonder like, yo, what are these pictures and who are these random people you keep? I'm like, they're not random to me. My life may seem random, but it's all coming together. Like at 22, I'm having experiences that like, if I saw a 16-year-old Dean walking down the street, yeah, 1991. Yeah, if I saw a 16-year-old Dean like anywhere, like when I was outside of Resso Box, which is like right across the street from the first place I had my first job ever at 16. Like if I saw that guy at the corner and he's like, are you at like a gallery in Long Island City chilling with a bunch of Japanese people doing improvisational freestyle ciphers to
Right.
Azumi's dancing to upright electrical. You're from Brooklyn, bro? Like you're from Crown Heights, bro. There's a lot of things that people say you should be doing, and a lot of things they would never expect you to be doing. And then there's what you're doing now, which is blowing your own mind, which is like, you know what I mean? I'm blowing my own mind, and I'm trying to stay humble because, tomorrow may not be guaranteed to have those same experiences. And I've had struggle, and now I'm seeing like I don't want to struggle anymore, and I don't want to survive anymore. I want to live. That's the whole point of my life, to live to the fullest, and that's really what my art represents. Like
Right on. Well said, man.
Longevity,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. And you're bringing so much to us too, as that goes, and that we do this process. You're bringing so much to the table.
You
So
guys-
it's
you guys
two-way
make
street.
it- you guys make it easy to feel welcome and to feel like I'm a part of something bigger than myself. Like even like off camera conversation, smoking a cigarette, next to your, I don't want to say your bed, but like your Yeah, the external, the smoking section of the studio.
Right, right.
You know, when the cameras are off, we're just shooting the shit about just politics or life, or like after work coming up here, and I mean, not smoking a joint after work at Cave, but coming up here and hanging out and just it just feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, the smooth Cave plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, that's what it's about. It's I mean, Greg and I often mention on the show that that's what started the show. Is that was happening so much that it was like, why not share all that and just try to actually broadcast it like content? Like, this is our content. We don't try to make it. It's just what's being made,
Right.
And it's working out, man. I think it's really good collaboration. So we've heard your Saffer, and we've heard you in discussion about stuff, but we haven't seen your jewelry yet, and we're gonna get into that now.
Yeah.
Can you back that up? The story of that, when you first got into designing jewelry, and how that.
When did you know?
So, started off, I was maybe like my senior year of high school. Like my whole life, sort of my family have been artisans. Like my dad's a welder. He's owned his own welding company in New York City for a long time before he moved. He sold it and moved to Florida to get on the construction boom. So he had been working with metals and welding and creating things aesthetically for years. And I never really had an appreciation for that because I'm like, 9 years old, 11 years old. I have a Game Boy. I got my brothers. There's 5 of us. So there's nothing but headlocks and, tackling. So we're not paying attention to this craft that my dad's doing. My mother, she painted. She also makes jewelry out of beads, glass jewelry. She assembles her own jewelry. She also does a little bit of clay work as well. And my oldest brother, he's an illustrator. So he sketches, makes his own comic books, creates his own characters, writes his own storylines, and goes from there and generates really moving stories based on life in Brooklyn, but also based on the fact that we grew up watching anime, loving Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, the list goes on, Go-Go 13, every anime, One Piece. I could, I was watching Samurai Champloo, and there's a piece, I don't think I have it up here, but there's a piece, I have a little katana sword that I'm sculpting right now.
I saw that recently, yeah. That's
and
badass.
that's just from watching anime, that's just like, well, what inspires you? You want to say it's cartoons, great, but those little images, those little gadgets that as a kid we saw and we always wanted and we always saw as toys and were little attachments to our action figures, I always wanted to have those things in real life. I always wanted to tangibly make things because I can't draw for beans. You give me a pen and a pad and tell me to sketch something, I'm not going to be able to generate that. But I have clear images of the things that I want to make already in my head. It's just I've always had to figure out what materials can I reach for to create what I see in my head in reality,
Was there a specific moment that happened when you were younger that you started with a certain medium?
For me, it was like a friend of mine taught me how to make clay out of glue. And basically, I think I was like in the 5th grade, and the girls in my class were doing it, and they were doing it to make fake fingernails for themselves.
Oh, yeah, I remember the fake fingernails. Yeah.
So they would like put glue in their hands, and they would roll it in their hands, and they would make like this putty. And I remember my mom, she used to buy us Legos, but she hated them and she hated clay because we were the type of kids who would make stuff and we would want it to last forever and we would leave it around the place and she'd be stepping on Legos and she'd hate it. And clay, we'd be like, yo, I made this little whatever. I want it, it's not going to harden, so I have to like stick it under a table so my brother doesn't ball it up and add it to his clay ball and make something different, So we were always, that was like my first introduction into creating figures, was just like making clay out of glue and then making little figures. And then right after that, my mom, she started buying those little cheese bells. They're like these little cheese things that were wrapped in this red wax.
Yeah.
Baby bells. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah.
And I used to peel that wax off and sculpt with that. And
cool.
Like my brother would be off sketching and then, he always was just down to support me in what I was doing because I think kind of he didn't want me to be a drawer because he wanted that to be his thing. So he's like, okay, if you like to sculpt or do this or that, here's a bunch of this wax. Go, do your own thing. And,
Stay away from my drawing.
Right, stay away from my, oh, that's a cool character you came up with. I'm going to illustrate that. I'm going to give him a backstory. That's my character now. And I was always cool with that because he would be like, well, here's some this or whatever. Try and make this. He would challenge me to make things. And then, from then, when he moved away to live with my dad in Florida, I was just this kid who didn't have an artistic outlet and just was always looking to figure out how, making these little figures and these little things and playing with little toys in my desk at school and not paying attention in school, why that made me different, but also made me hunger to always want to make stuff with my hands. And that was really like my first introduction. And at the same time in New York City, they were just cutting all sort of arts programs from school, from music to, you know, whatever. Anything artistic, creative, even shop classes. Like I had schools with full out shop programs in the building that were turned into like detention rooms for bad kids instead of like, well, we're gonna show you how to make a freaking birdhouse or something like that. You know what I mean? So I had always had this thirst, but I wasn't getting it inside the classroom. And then when my brother, he was like my main outlet to help me create, moved away, I had just had these 4 or 5 years where I wasn't making anything or learning how to be an artist. And then I just randomly started working at this library in Queens. And every day I would just take home art books, take them home, flip through them, say, hey, that's dope, I'm gonna try that. And right next to my high school is Michael's Arts and Crafts store, which is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, art supply stores in New York City that can give you affordable supplies and also introduce you to things you've never seen before, like polymer clays. Like if we go into like my first slide, you have a pendant
Yeah,
here.
let's start looking at that. Yeah. So this is what material is this we're about to see?
This is polymer clay. This is $2.50 an ounce, little pack. Like this green that's right here doesn't actually exist. I had to make that green. But the fact is that you can take a colors and mix them and create any array. And that's really what my thing was. I like to make colors first and then sit down and say, well, I'm going to develop this into something. So what this is basically, it's a Tibetan, it's based on the Tibetan mask, Tibetan gods. They have the Hindu gods with the third eye, you know, where the holiness enters and exits through the body, how you see your soul. But it's also infused with sort of like a little bit of my street culture, where you see like he's wearing diamond earrings, or his teeth are actually silver, silver clay, and indented and marked up to make it look as if he's wearing a silver or diamond grill.
That's awesome.
His eyes are gray like stone, cold like the heart of the members of any street gang that run in my neighborhood. This was supposed to be like a shield that represents the face of the ferocity of growing up in our neighborhood. You know what I mean? But expressed not through a violent act, but through, you know, this portrayal of this ferocious face. You know, and it's just an intensity that I saw in that Tibetan art. You know, at the same time as, you know, a lot of these places are trying to get over imperialistic rule, and they're showing their culture through their art. I always wondered how we were going to end up doing that here in America, and how my people were going to end up doing that here in America in productive ways that were going to last into the future. And that's really what drove me, because like when I first really started making art, I was like in a homeless shelter. You know, it was me, my mom, my little brother, no cable, no TV, no internet, just art books, art supplies, and tables, and that was it. And we would just remember the mission was to get out of the homeless shelter, get a house, and, you know, to stop surviving and to start living. You know, I had a 10-year-old brother at the time, and I'm like raising this kid like my dad, like my son, you know, and I'm trying to instill into him like there's more to the streets than just what we see on the corner. You know, like there's a Benz parked in front of a drug house. You got to see both sides of that. You know, that you have to understand that you are bigger than anyone's perception, and that that another person's prejudice or ignorance is not what you're a product of. You're not a product of that. So art really, it's tantalizing because it draws you in and it makes you want to be a part of something, even if you can't define how it's going to help you move forward in your life, or if it's going to help you pay your rent, or if it's going to get your, you know, your life in order. But it's always been like an anchor for me. You know, it's always been something that's like kept me grounded no matter what the struggle is. So I sort of see myself as like a disillusioned optimist. So the glass is always half full, but at the same time, I know that the glass is also half empty, you know? And it's a contradiction to live that way, but art has always been able to been that thing in my life that's been steadily, where if I fail, I've only failed because I haven't learned how to succeed at that process yet, you know, as opposed to just like, I failed, you know? People are gonna say you failed, and you just gotta live with that, you know? So like these pieces that I did in clay, they can't last forever because clay deteriorates over time. It's a brittle material, it breaks down. It has its limitations as a material, but not necessarily as a way to express yourself as an artist. What I wanted to do when I got into casting was sort of like fuse my father's passion for welding with my mother's passion for jewelry making. And, you know, even though I grew up a product of divorce, my life has always been influenced by who they are as people. And even if I don't say it to them, to their face, I always try to like show that I'm moving forward as a person through things that you instilled in me, you know, just off, you know, just because it makes sense, just because it makes sense. Even if I go in my own direction, I just always am looking behind. So that's what anything I've ever made out of clay, and why I only chose this piece as opposed to showing you the 300 pieces I ever made, was just because like that's behind me now, and I wanna achieve something as a craftsman or like as an artisan or as someone who could have an apprentice one day, and that's what I see. So enter this device. This is called a
Most. There it is.
yeah. This is called a broken arm centrifuge, and this is sort of how you bridge making things last forever with destroying something that's only supposed to last for a day or something. So when I sculpt something out of wax, I have to make an investment out of it. Then I have to make a mold out of it. Then I have to destroy what I've probably spent an hour or 2 hours making out of wax in an oven, just so that I can then create something in a precious metal, from bronze to gold, you know, to silver. So with this device, what it does is, it's called a broken arm centrifuge, because what you do is you wind it up and you set it with a pin, and on one end you have your plaster mold. Now your plaster mold is a whole nother process.
That's
really,
on the left there that we're seeing.
yeah.
It's the plaster mold.
On the left, what you're seeing is the white thing. That's the crucible. So the crucible is actually where your precious metal would go. So if you're casting in bronze, inside that crucible is where you would put your little casting grain. So if you say you're casting in 14 grams of bronze, you'd have 14 grams of bronze in that crucible, and you'd prime it by, you know, adding liquid flux, different sorts of mediums that help the flow go from the crucible into the mold.
Okay.
So what you see there is the crucible. That's like the first day I really set up the machine, so it's pristine. It's more burnt and rusty and uglier now from a couple of months of service. So right on the other side of that crucible is the mold, and I like to say that as an artist, I'm trying to master 3 processes at once. There's sculpting. So as a sculptor, there's sculpting the original piece in wax. So if I wanted to sculpt a pistol, I'd have to sculpt it exactly how I'd want it to appear in real life in wax. So you can jump to the next piece, and you can see sort of the next couple of pieces are wax pieces. So what you have here is an earring I made for a friend of mine. It's actually the first thing I've ever sold, and I sold that this week, Monday.
Cool.
So I sculpted 2 earrings based on the 7 African powers and the orishas, which are women fertility signals. So she wanted curves, and she wanted to have a feminine sort of motif around the design. So I designed it around a circle, and I designed it with special indentation marks and whatever to make it look sort of like an ovary, because that's obviously the center of womanhood is the ovary, and that's where all life begins. And you know, depending on what your faith is or your understanding of your progress, but that's where life to me begins. So I shaped these 2 earrings, and I created it in wax, and then I sprued it. And there's a lot of technical things that you have to know. So if you sculpt something in wax, you have to also add sprues to it. So when you finally cast it in plaster, there are channels for the metal to actually flow. So there has to be an entrance and an exit. So ultimately, what you're doing here is creating a positive image, an investment that's later going to become a negative image inside of a plaster mold. So once I make that and put it on that red base, which is more clay. So as you see, I've never really gotten away from sculpting with clay. I still use it in my process as I create bases and platforms to actually create plaster molds. So after I sculpt what I'm actually sculpting or what the actual investment's going to be, I put a tin can around it. And if you look towards the back on the left-hand side of that photo, you can see a little tin can. So that would be the actual mold itself. I pour plaster inside of that, and then I put that in an oven and melt out that wax. And so now what you have is a hard plaster mold with a negative of that exact earring inside of it. So now you go inside the centrifuge and you spin it after melting down the metal, and it transfers from the crucible into that negative mold, and you ultimately would have, which you'll probably see later on in a couple of my photos, a casted piece. Now the next image, these are just before I even owned the centrifuge, I owned wax, because the centrifuge is really expensive. It cost me like $200 to get one, and it didn't. To me, becoming a metalsmith didn't become real until I unpackaged that box and had it sitting in front of me, and was like, okay, now I have to build a base for this. Now I have to invest in plaster for this. Now I have to figure out what the cost of an ounce of silver is, what the cost of a pound of bronze is, what the cost of silver or gold is per ounce, which is $1,438.
I was gonna say you're figuring out the cost of a pound of bronze.
Yeah, a pound of bronze.
Come hang out, man.
$14.88.
That's not so bad.
Oh.
Not so bad. No, that's
I
why
guess
I'm
my
working
bronze
exclusively
price
in
is low.
bronze right now. Silver sells for 1 troy ounce of silver, I believe. Fine silver is $24.95 an ounce, which isn't too bad, but you also have to calculate what the flow rate of silver is. So bronze flows at 8.8 grams. I mean, at 8.8, that's the density at which bronze will flow from crucible to plaster mold. So you have to multiply 8.8 times the weight of what your wax investment is. So if you sculpted something with its sprues and all of that, and it came out to say 1.48 grams, which is what the piece I'm wearing right now weighed, you times that by 8.8 and you find out how many grams of bronze you're gonna actually need. Now, every metal has a specific gravity that you have to multiply that wax by to find out how much of that metal you'll need. So bronze is 8.8. Silver is 10.42. Gold is like 15.42.
So what does that mean? It's easier for
Heavier.
gold to flow.
It's heavier. It takes way more gold to actually do it. So you'd have to, instead of times that 1.48 by 8.8 to get bronze, you'd have to times it by like 20.3 to get 18 karat gold or 24 karat gold. So the specific gravities dictates how much money you're going to be investing in the metal that you're going to be casting in. So my ultimate goal, of course, is to be exclusively a goldsmith, because why settle for silver or for bronze? But in reality, as someone who's just started, who's self-taught, who's never been in a classroom about casting, besides what my father showed me in his welding, I figured I start with pewter, master pewter, move on to bronze. I'm on my way to figuring out how to properly use bronze and properly, polish it and sculpt with it and work with it post casting. And once I learn bronze, I'll also learn silver, because they melt at the same temperature. So the prices may be different, but the attributes of the metal themselves, or the metal to alloy, because silver is not is a metal and bronze is an alloy, which is a copper tin, amalgamation. It's a learning process, and I like challenging myself, because when I sculpted in clay, I used to be really like, okay, I can do anything in clay. And then it got to the point where I started seeing things complete before I actually sat down to make them. And it became that easy to me, because I knew what I was going to have to do. I knew there was no extra material to bring into this process. I knew there was nothing else that I would have to do to make this whatever. I would just have to get clay, refine it down to its bits and pieces, assemble it, bake it. And it started to become more of like an assembly line process to making pieces, as opposed to an artistic expression. And so, all of these wax pieces that you see here, they're just, they're me remembering how to sculpt, once again, when I started to transition from clay to wax, because clay and wax have a lot of the same attributes, especially the wax I use, which is a microcrystalline wax. It's malleable. You can manipulate it with your fingers, as opposed to like harder waxes, which you definitely need tools and stuff. A lot of the same tools that I'm using to manipulate clay are the same tools I'm using to manipulate wax. And I did that on purpose, because I wanted to not change a lot about my sculpting process, because that's my bread and butter. That's the process of the three that I feel like I've mastered. So I just wanted, before I even started making molds, just get back in the hand of actually sculpting with wax again. So these little pyramid, like this piece right here and the three pieces before it, they'll never be casted. They actually don't even exist anymore. but they exist as images so that I can refer back to them. So if I
Right.
do want to make a pyramid with an eye in the middle of it, I know that I have made it. I know that I can make it, so I will make it. You know
and
what
you're
I mean?
documenting everything and archiving your process pretty
Right.
well, it seems. So
That's something my mom taught me.
yeah.
She's like, just people are gonna want to know what your process is, and
Yeah.
if you can't break it down for yourself, people are gonna see you as fraudulent.
It's pretty astounding now that you're giving us the breakdown as all this that I haven't really thought about when it comes to doing casting like this. But there's
Yeah.
something that's intriguing me is that you started with the image of the Tibetan influenced
Yeah, that
face, and just how much that is about life, death, and rebirth. And you
Right.
go right into talking about the wax is destroyed to
Destroyed
create the
to create-
new.
right.
You know,
yeah.
there's something really profound in like the cycle about what you're doing, I think.
Yeah, that to me, that's usually going through my mind when I'm sculpting. The casting process happens so fast, you know, that you don't really have time to reflect on like, whoa, I'm doing what the ancient Africans and the Greeks did when they introduced
Yeah.
the pouring method. Remember when they used to cast and like you got to have this blowtorch on this metal and you got to have your hand on this crank, and in 3 seconds this has to be a liquid and you have to be letting this go, and at the same time you have to be stepping out of the way so that if there is a little excess bronze at the end of that mold, it doesn't like splash on your leg or whatever. So
That sounds great.
yeah, and I'm doing this on my fire escape. I have my centrifuge because I refuse to do it in my apartment. I have 2 roommates, and I love them to death, but they're
And
just
a fear
not.
Of, a fear of fire.
Yeah, a fear of fire. I mean, personally, I've always liked fire. That's been my thing. I've grown up loving to hear blowtorches ignite, or like, you know,
Watch stuff burn.
watch stuff burn. It's just
course.
like human nature. What separates us from animals is fire. You know, every other species has access to water. Every other species has access to air. Every other species has access to earth. But we, as a human race, thanks to Prometheus or whatever you believe, are the only ones on the planet that have access to fire as a source of preserving life. You know, cooking food, killing disease in water, melting metal, you know, whatever. You know, burning a field so that you can regrow crops, you know. Those are techniques that fire has brought to man, which, forget your lofty ideas and your ideology and your social constructs. If we didn't have fire, we'd be fighting bears right now. Not with guns, because you need fire for guns, but because, you know, bears can fight on the same plane as us without fire. They eat the same things we are. They're omnivores just like us. So fire separates us. So for me, it's always been about mastering fire. Even when I work with clay, you still have to put that in the oven. You still have to monitor temperature. So fire is just a big part of my life. And it's also like I can sculpt something in wax and think it's the dopest thing ever, leave it in my windowsill, come back, and it's a puddle. You know, because like an idiot, I didn't take into account that the sun is going to affect your materials if you're not careful, you know. So it's just a whole process for me.
Again, it's like impermanence and,
Right.
you know.
The whole, you know, teaching myself responsibility through my art, you know. So before I'm out like buying stuff, supplies to make stuff, I got to make sure my rent's paid and stuff like that. Just this whole constant flow and how nothing is going to last forever unless you work at it. You know, actually, I think we should skip that one for, actually, no, you can go to that one. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah, this is just another little wax pendant I made. I'm actually going to be sculpting a series of these.
So that one's all wax?
Yeah, this is all wax.
It's very yellow.
Yeah.
It's just yellow wax.
It's just how there's air in that wax because it's pushed through an extruder to make all the little thin lines.
Oh.
I work exclusively in this technique, which I taught myself, which is basically weaving lines that come out like pasta into intricate design. I embed any design that I want to make. I have to incorporate intricate design. That's what I call that technique of using weaves. I coined it as intricate design. I had someone tell me that I'm actually doing like high relief sculpture, and I looked up like the ancient Egyptians, and I saw that that's all that their artwork is in. If you look at ancient Egyptian work, it's only high relief sculpture. There's no other form of expression. Their hieroglyphs are in high relief. Their motifs are in high reliefs. Everything about ancient Egyptian culture is out of stone, so you can still see the fact that they're working with earth. You know, so I like that concept of this tribal art of working in high relief and raising things out of natural material, or making it look as if it's raising out of natural material to give it a 3D effect, but also not take away from the natural contours that come from just, you know, a thumbprint. I just like my designs to look like I put a fingerprint over it. And it's every piece, no matter if I make the same 10 pieces, even if you look at those earrings, which you can go to, like if you look at these earrings, which is probably because of the light and the photo effect, those 2 earrings are supposed to be completely identical. They're actually the Orisha, and this is the bronze casting of that wax casting I showed you
So
earlier.
you used the same cast twice, and this is the second.
So I had to
Damn.
sculpt these. Actually, I had to
You destroy
sculpt
the
3 of
cast
these
every time,
Right.
right?
These are 2 totally different pieces, sculpted this to be the same piece. I actually made 3 of them and casted 3 of them, but one of the casts got destroyed in the process because the actual plaster wasn't set right. So when I actually spun it in my centrifuge, it exploded, which wasn't very pleasant.
Did you splash any on your leg when you did that?
No, it was mostly it was mostly plaster. It was,
sounds terrible.
it hit the mold, and when I carved it out, you could see that it did fill the mold, but there was just way too much like excess material flared out that I couldn't trim off to make it look like what I wanted it to look
Gotcha.
like. So I had to resculpt it and remake a mold and then recast it. So I had to do all 3 of my processes again just to make one earring to match the earring that I made before it, which came out
Yeah.
perfect first try. You know, so
That's
And
great,
depending
yeah.
on how perfectionist you get with a particular
Right.
project, you might make 7 before you get to the one you want to get to.
Right. And that'll be the one that I'm like, well, this is the one I'm going to take all the photos of. You know, there's a lot of self-editing, you know, like there's a lot of, you know, a lot of stuff.
It's important because
Yeah.
as any artist, you're going to make something and say, no, that wasn't it.
That wasn't it. No. And I was like, eh. And it was so bad that like I casted it, sculpted it out, and I had it. And it looked good enough that I could have kept it and said, you know what, I made this. I threw it out my window. Like I just threw it out the window like, fuck this. I'll do it again. You know, if it was gold, I wouldn't have thrown it out the window, but it was bronze.
Really?
You know.
You're not just throwing gold
Yeah, I'm just
around?
not, this 14 karat gold earring didn't come out
somebody
exactly
a
how I
good
wanted.
day.
Whatever. Just chuck it.
Yeah.
You know.
But can you remelt bronze or remelt?
The whole reason why and this is probably speaks to my method and what probably has to change about me as an artist. If I don't see a value in a material right after I'm done doing what I want to do to it, there's no longer any use for it on my
the
table.
magic's gone.
There's just nothing there for me. I have no sentimental value with anything I create. I can sculpt something that 1 billion people on this planet could say is Mona Lisa worthy. If I see an imperfection on it,
Burn it.
I'm either going to burn it or I'm going to want to make it again, or I'm just going to want someone to have it and just not have it in my life, because my whole approach to art is sort of like I want to say, which one is the composite? A prime number, 1 in itself. So there's one being what inspires you. That's the inspiration. That's the variable. And then there's yourself. There's you. 1 is something, you know, whatever it is, whatever you want to create, how true you stay on point with that message and what you want to create is how you actually show that you are developing as an artist. Whenever you see something in your head, you have to look around your environment and actually judge for yourself what inspired that piece, and then keep those elements in your life as you're creating that piece, you know. And then when you come down to it and it's sitting in front of you, it's supposed to be an extension of yourself. So it's you challenging yourself to create something for yourself for everyone else. So it's like a huge contradiction, but like I see prime numbers as that, you know, to be a number that's integral to the world of numbers, but can only exist if it takes care of itself and its responsibilities as, you know, as a creator. You know, I don't know if that really, you know, makes sense, but like 3 is made up of 3 ones. So, you know, if 3, I don't know, it's this shit I'm talking about when I'm like in my room by myself sculpting. So in my own head when I'm dolo, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, just esoteric artist talk to my own, you know, my own mental whatever. That's the stuff I'm talking about when I'm weaving these little intricate things and there's no music in my room and it's just silence, and I get up to use the bathroom and I turn around and I'm like, what did I just do for 3 hours? Like, I know I made something, But I got homies that are like playing Grand Theft Auto 5 right now. You know, they're on OkCupid getting dates. They're on Facebook. I'm like sitting in this hot room, staring down at a box, manipulating wax, and it's the most fulfilling thing ever. And I'm not getting school credit for it, and I probably won't even get paid for the pieces that I'm making right now. But it fulfills me in a way that I can't explain in any other. Well, I'm trying right now on Sulphurbath, but you know, it's the best feeling I could ever, you know, because you can't be judged for creating. You can be judged for destroying, but you can't be judged for creating something that's purely you, you know, and that's really what I tell anyone who's making something or wants to be something or do something. Like, you got to first want it for yourself.
Yeah.
It has to be something inside of you that inspires you to want to, you know, challenge perception, you know, and that's really where wax comes in handy, because you can make anything. And you can just look at a blob of it, and it can just be nothing. And then an hour later, it can be a portafilter that represents your job at a cafe. You know, it can be a katana that represents the hours you spent being inspired by a Japanese anime that took years to develop. So that person who was in Japan drawing those images and creating that storyline, you know, they're inspiring you to do. You know, it's just you have to feed into the power that you know that you're drawing from. And that's really where this whole process, like, you know, is taking me. Yeah.
Well said, man. I love your interpretation of it too, and
Thank you.
I think you relate the process very well.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna see next is a ring that you did recently, right?
Yeah. These are, once again,
These are the wax.
these are wax rings. I have huge fingers now that I look at them. Like, now that I look at my ring, like, my rings are huge. My hands are huge. And I sculpt all of my rings from my hands. So right now, since these are up, what my plan is right now as far as sculpting is I'm going to be making 15 rings in the 5 most common sizes for men and 15 rings in the 5 most common sizes for women. And then I'm going to cast them in bronze. Each one of those rings are going to be completely unique. Some of them are going to be signets. Some of them are going to be bands. Some of them are just going to be random stuff that are going to be rings, twisted around fingers. But they're all going to be along those 15 different sizes for men and women. Then I'm going to approach my fans or my friends or whoever's interested in purchasing, go out, look for consignment shops, whatever, sell those rings, and whatever money I make from those rings, I'm going to try and cast maybe 5 rings in silver for men and 5 rings in silver for women.
Cool.
Take that money and then hopefully cast just one thing in gold. Even if it's 10 karat or 14 karat or whatever. My whole life has been in the pursuit of gold. Ever since I read that story about the miser who wouldn't, you know, give away his money or Midas touch, I love gold so much. It's like,
You've just been chasing gold this whole time.
oh my, it's a color, it's an element, and it's a concept. You know, like, as a concept, we know gold, the golden rule. You know, it's the echelon, the highest echelon. It's an element because it appears on a periodic table. It has a purest form. And it's a color because gold can make you weep. It's gold. Like, gold. Even fool's gold makes your heart churn when you first see it, because you're like, that's gold, and you know the color. So it's those 3 things in one thing. And it's just like, it's so beautiful, but it's also like deadly because of how people fight for it around the world, and how, you know, wars have been fought over it, and cities have been sacked for it, you know.
Well, you're chasing it for a reason, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I wanna sack a couple of cities. Nah. But yeah, so this piece, just to show like a quick progression of a piece from conception to sort of finishing. So this is the finished piece. This is a portafilter. So I work in a coffee shop. And a portafilter is sort of that device that brings espresso to the cup. So you grind your espresso into the portafilter, you tamp it down in that portafilter, and then you put it in the machine. And inside the machine, what it does is it sends hot water through that espresso, through that portafilter, and it sort of condenses it, and it shrinks that shot down so that you have just that fine espresso coming out at the bottom into the cup to be enjoyed. I thought you know, anyone who knows espresso or who's been around a machine, who's been a barista, is dealt with this thing constantly.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's
This is the tool of the
it's the
trade,
tool.
man. Yeah.
It's a part of the machine, and I like it because it's a part of the machine that you can take away from the machine and prep it somewhere else and then put it back in the machine. And it's like it makes sense to me as a device. It just makes sense to me. I just like it aesthetically, and I just like that it serves such a purpose, and it's a portafilter, you know.
Well, this is also kind of like alchemy in a sense, like forging metal or
Right.
something, isn't it? Espresso, like
Espresso is like it's the most complicated drink you'll have in a day, you know. It's assembled from 7 different parts across a store, where you got fridge, you got the machine, you got the espresso and the grinder, and it's all different things being brought together to make something that just doesn't seem like it should come from those things, like industrial heavy metal machines bringing out a fine stream of liquid black, you know what I mean? Like it makes so conceptually it's
It's an
beautiful.
involved process
Yeah.
too, just like the centrifuge and
Right. It's along the same line, and it also has a lot to do with heat, like, you know, gold, fire, 2 of my favorite things.
and the flow of an element.
The flow of the
Right.
metal
That's
coming
interesting.
down, and you know,
Making
the crema
coffee.
being gold, coffee. And I'm a part of both of those worlds, so
Forge my latte, please.
yeah.
I'll have
Yeah.
a golden coffee, please.
I'm a coffee forger. Yeah. So
But
then,
so how big is this? What
So
do
this
we
is
actually?
the real deal
yeah.
right here, right?
so I have it around my neck.
No, that's
This is about, what is it? It's about, I'm gonna say 1.5 inches, I would say.
cool.
And
what we're seeing right now is that's not the finished one, right?
right.
This
So
is
the
wax,
first image
or-
right here, that's just the wax. This is just the outer shell and the handle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the next photo, you have I added a inner shell and an inner rim to sort of give the effect of, you know, dimension, so that it looks as if, even though it's a flat thing, it looks as if it has a sunken inner inside the circle part. And I added little dots to it. A lot of the details can't come out very well in the wax. So sort of my process is shining a light over it and then sculpting really fast and then moving that light and submerging it in water, because that light, as I'm working, is making the wax really soft. So I got to work really fast, submerge it in ice water so it hardens again, bring it back out, work really fast to add extra details, and then, you know, submerge it in ice water again so that it hardens. And that's what the beauty of a lot of waxes are, is that they are affected easily by their atmosphere and the environment around them. So if you're controlling that atmosphere, you know exactly what your wax is going to be able to do, or whatever material you're sculpting is going to be able to do, how malleable it's going to be if you let it soak in warm water for 10 minutes as opposed to having it sculpted. You know, your fingers are going to be warming it up. So have ice water ready to submerge it so that it can harden. You can take it back out, sculpt it, harden it so that you're not smudging details that you've already added to the process. And that's really something I've been teaching myself with clay, and just reteaching myself with wax, because you have less time. You have less of a shelf life with this material to get what you envision, you know, down without touching it too much, because you want to stop touching it as soon as possible. Okay, so this next image is after I should have took a picture of the mold, but it's really boring. It's just like a block of white.
Just the outside.
Yeah, it's just you wouldn't you
Trust
like,
me, it's in there.
it's in there, you know. So what you see, what I'm actually holding is the sprue. That's all bronze. That sprue used to be wax as well, and that was actually the little channel that I added in wax so that there was an opening in the plaster mold for the metal to flow into.
Right.
So as you see, when it's fully casted, you have all of this excess material that you have to remove, as well as this fine coat of plaster on the actual piece that has to be sanded off and buffed off and polished off and all that stuff. So right now, so really, if I think about it, I've been talking about the 3 processes. There's sculpting, there's mold making, and then there's casting. But then there's also refining and polishing, and that's really like the next step as if you want to be an artisan or someone who's bringing a product to a table.
Yeah.
That's the step that you have to master.
Yeah.
The big finish.
Yeah,
Just
that's
the
the
fine
big
tuning
finish.
of the instrument.
You know,
Literally.
So that's, yeah, exactly. The big finish, the
The big
fine
finish.
tuning. You know, and I'm
And
used to
what
that.
do you use? You have like a Dremel drill or something like that, or
For the polishing, yeah, I have like a little off-brand Dremel.
Mhm.
It's an off-brand Dremel, but all of the attachments are Dremel attachments because there's like they're the best attachments. You don't have to buy
Yeah.
the drill, but Dremel just
That
makes
motor's gonna burn out
everything. It's
anyway.
gonna- yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
Get the crappy one.
Just get the crappy one and get all of those dope
Get those
attachments.
great like carbide diamond tip things.
I used to make bongs out of, just to like talk about like art,
Other art you've made.
other art. You know, 'cause
Folk art.
I never I didn't start off in jewelry. I used to just make things like vases covered in clay, or like just panels covered in clay, and that was my art. Only really started making jewelry like clay pendants was because like there was a point in my life where I had to pay my tuition, and nobody was buying Altoid cans covered in clay, but they would sure as hell buy a pharaoh head necklace with full beads, fully sculpted, something they'd never seen before. So I quickly started to adapt into refining, my big images and down into smaller, littler images, which could be pendants, and then selling that in order to buy textbooks for school.
Yeah.
So luckily, that's why I think we live a beautiful struggle, because if I didn't know that struggle and I didn't know that, I could make this money selling art, my art, I would not be interested in casting right now, because I wouldn't have known that, okay, there was this guy who I made a piece for, and he told me to my face that he was going to get the real thing made out of my work. So I sculpted this beautiful piece out of clay, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to take this to the jeweler. Yo, we're going to get this diamond studded out. We're going to have the gold, all this shit. I was like, this is the real piece. I sculpted this for 6 hours
Yeah.
out of clay for you to wear around your neck and to promote not only your business, but what I'm trying to do. And then, I went home and I'm like, yeah, my dad's a welder. My mom makes jewelry, man. This casting shit can't be impossible. It just can't be impossible. There's people in African villages who are casting things with nowhere near as much access as I have in America, or the amount of supplies and materials and things that I can source right here in my city.
Yeah.
It can't be impossible. And I don't need a college degree to do it, or I don't necessarily need to be in a room with, master. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because I would love to have someone take me under their wing and show me a proper way to actually do things or refine my ideas down to.
Oh, sure.
you know,
Yeah, but you're the artisan and the self-taught craftsman, and so you're going to inevitably gain your own experience and your own path
exactly.
doing it. So.
So that it's just like that just drove me to want to go down this path, and just, it's just really a why not sort of scenario for me. Like, why? What do I have to lose from trying to be an artist?
I'd be doing that.
Yeah.
What?
That's cool.
I remember when I told people I wanted to be an artist or I wanted to go to school, the number one question was like, "Well, what are you going to do with that degree?" And,
Right.
and I just always heard my mom's answer,
What?
like,
What do you
"Whatever
mean?
you want." Like whatever you want. Like, I'm pursuing a degree. I got homies who are doing 5 to 10s since I was in middle school, who are going to get out and they're going to be wondering where the world's gone as they've been incarcerated. Like dudes that I graduated middle school with. I'm going to do whatever I want because I have that freedom. I've never been arrested. I've never been locked up. I never, been in any sort of trouble. So if I want to buy a bus ticket and go to Louisiana, you're damn right I'm going to do that. If I want to sit down and sculpt pieces of wax on a farm for the next 6 years, I'm going to do that because that's just what I feel I have the freedom to do. There's just, what I mean? If I'm going to pull shots at a cafe, I'm going to do that. I just like to always do what I want to do. I think that's like my biggest crux and also my biggest like benefit of being me. I'm always down to do what I want to do, but I'm also down to be a part of stuff. So it's a little bit like up in the air,
You're part of what we do, doing what you do.
Yeah.
You can have both worlds, man.
I'm
Something you said a little bit ago that, what did you say? You said, we're living a beautiful struggle.
yeah, the beautiful struggle.
That'll stick with me for a while. That's good, man.
Yeah, beautiful struggle.
Well, Dean, thanks for enlightening us, man. Like,
Yeah,
just
thanks so
talking about
much.
it, talking about your process and what you're going through doing this and, like, how you discovered it and showing us images. Like, really
Sure.
great stuff, man. I want to
Appreciate it.
look forward to seeing more work in the future, man.
And you
for
wanted
sure.
like a dream catcher piece. Yeah, I think as far as like my next step,
a dream catcher?
we were talking like you mentioned like you wanted like a little dream catcher kind
Oh,
of
I think I
necklace.
said
Yeah.
soul protector.
Soul protector, soul protector, not dream catcher.
I catch enough dreams.
soul protector. I actually like that, and I had an image of a piece that I've been working on.
But I would love to
I
commission you to
would've
do
said that-
something, man. I would love that,
Yeah.
Dean. Yeah, it'd be
Soul
my honor.
protector.
So
Sure.
let's talk about that for sure, man. It's gonna be great. So cool. Thanks for collaborating, and yeah, we're gonna wrap up now. That was, I think, a really cool segment. We're gonna do our experimental jam now, and take 10 minutes to protect our souls. Apparently, apparently.
Word.
Cool. Yeah, I want to thank Evan and Martin so much for coming on again. ersband.com. And I want to thank Dean G. Brown so much for coming on and sharing his jewelry designs with us.
Does he have a web presence?
Yeah. Hey, Dean, do you get a web presence or an Etsy page or something? Doesn't he have an Etsy page?
I don't know.
So facebook.com/Bishop Crafts.
Yeah, you're going under Bishop Crafts. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I chose Bishop because I just like the idea of like such a regal position for a church official. It seems so powerful, but also like it's strategic move on the chessboard. That
Yeah, I was
moves
gonna say also
diagonally
moving as far as you want
as
diagonally.
far as you want diagonally in any direction, which I like to do because if
Not
I
straight.
see a
Diagonal.
problem coming towards me that I don't feel like I'm equipped to deal with, or if I don't feel like I want to deal with, I'm
move
down
on
to
to
sidestep
45.
it straight
Yeah,
up.
nice.
You know, like that's Bishop. And crafts because arts and crafts. I grew up in a craft family, and I'm also on Instagram. It's all Bishop Crafts. So bishopcrafts
Cool.
at gmail.com.
Cool.
Bishop Crafts on Instagram, Facebook, and hopefully Etsy soon enough. I used to have an account, but
We'll put it. We'll put the archive up on that as well too. So
faux show.
awesome.
Let's jam.
All right, thanks again. We're gonna close up episode 22. Let's jam.
Number 22, coming through. Do what it do. Ha, let me do it to you. Making moves. Ha, I was born not to lose. Cast bronze to silver to gold. Growing old in the days of stories that never been told. Watch the world unfold. I just had to be a dreamer. Because if not, I would just be a schemer. And then I wouldn't be who I was born to be a leader. I ain't here to deceive ya. Sulphurbath 22, coming through. The truth is in the pudding. Don't push them, cause on the precipice where life and death submits, you'll find me trying to just be. Basement evolution. Second floor above Cave, we do it every day, non-stop, there's no play, just full motion ahead. It's about stacking bread until you're dead. No, it's about leaning left, so that your right starts to knock them out tonight. It ain't about what you're doing on the bottom, it's about the top rung in a song that's never been sung, a dream that's never been drummed, a drum that's never been banged, in a percussion system that's never been twanged or touched or adjusted 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 or just...
Take the time at a party. They're going down in 22 And we took the long road, the one that took a little more time. We took the dark road, the one that was a little more spooky. And we started to go off the path. We started to seek a little more thoroughly, a little more extraordinarily. And we felt the beat. And we felt our feet. We felt a little discreet. And we felt a little bit of the secrets come forth from the dark. We started to run. We started to run in the wrong direction, but it felt alright. Yeah. Started to make a little noise when there was no sound. Started to go a little faster on the darkest ground. Found our friends inside of the forest. It was falling like leaves in the darkest parts. Somehow I felt comfortable. So I was here with my friends. And I was here to the end. All the way till the end.
Woo! Ooh. Woo! Oh yeah. It's good old time. It's a bat. Just a little bit. It's a little sip. Macchiato, cortado. Espresso, let's go. Never let go. Been on the edge before. So I'ma just do what it do and let it brew. Ooh, steam the milk to perfection. Pour it down in one direction. Let the rosetta raise to the surface. Don't be nervous, cause it's perfect. Espresso, all day, taste day. Pour the filter around my neck to just show respect to the process. I know what's next. Put it in a porcelain demitasse. Put it on a plate. Hand it over. Cause I know it tastes great. Latte. One more less tea, it'd be late. Hope you can relate. No money back rebate. Go ahead and choose your fate. But I always tell them save the date. Because when you're asleep, I'm awake. Taking it to the break. King. Point.
Hey, no, that, but living out of chat, but living life a chat, but deep in that ooh, that tea, who bap cheating, who that cheating.